And can I then welcome Liz Bell. Liz is a freelance copywriter, editor and communications consultant based in the Southwest, and she's going to talk to us about supporting our public health heroes. So Liz, I'm going to make the stage yours.
Great, thanks very much, Andrew. Hi everyone, and it's nice to be here today. As Andrew said, I'm here to talk to you about the Public Health Heroes campaign, which hopefully many of you will have come across over the last few months. I'm going to try and share my screen, so please bear with me for a sec. Great. So, to give you some background, this campaign began just over a year ago with a simple question, which was, how can we get more public health practitioners to join the register? So at this point, although UKPHR have been registering practitioners for some time, the sheer size of the practitioner workforce in the UK meant that relatively few of them were actually on the register compared to the number of specialists in the UK who were on the register. Of course, we know well that there are lots of benefits of registration for individual practitioners, and excuse me, I'm sure that many of you will have experienced those benefits firsthand if you are a practitioner and if you are registered. We also know, though, that the registration process is a rigorous one. It requires a significant investment of time and effort on part of the individual. So without the support of an employer, it can be difficult for individual practitioners to dedicate the necessary time and resources to registration. So we knew early on that it wasn't the individual practitioners that we were going to have to convince about the value of registration, it was their employers. So what are the benefits for employers of having a registered practitioner workforce? Well, firstly, registration provides a way for employers to formally recognise the knowledge and the skills of the practitioners that they employ. It also provides independent quality assurance. So because the process of registration is so rigorous, as practitioners to undergo regular revalidation. So it acts as a guarantee for employers that any practitioners that they employ are working to a high standard. And of course, registration also provides an avenue for recourse should any problems arise with individual practitioners. So ultimately, it provides a way for employers to better protect the public, which, as we all know, is ultimately what public health is all about. So with those key benefits in mind, we set about developing a campaign that would reach employers. Now, it's interesting hearing Yusuf talk about the comms principles that were applied to the vaccine rollout in the UK, and how it's not just about the message that you're trying to get across, it's about who's listening and how that message is going to be received. Those are crucial. It's about that real community engagement rather than just talking at people. This was exactly the same for us. So we were thinking at this stage about how we were going to really engage with employers. Little did we know, though, at this stage, that public health practice in the UK was about to be thrust into the national spotlight by a global pandemic, which of course changed things somewhat for us. Almost overnight, at this point, public health practitioners went from being relatively invisible in the public eye to being key workers, a vital part of the COVID response in the country. And obviously we couldn't launch a campaign to promote registration without taking this fundamental shift into account. So here's what we did. We developed the Public Health Heroes campaign. This celebrates the work of practitioners while also encouraging employers to act as ambassadors and facilitators of the registration scheme. We started with the idea that while the COVID pandemic had shown just how vital public health services are, those people who are working at the very front line of those public health services, the practitioners, don't just operate in a crisis. These people are every day protecting the health and well-being of people across the country. So with that message in mind, the first phase of our campaign was to get the employers engaged. And we did this by inviting them to nominate their very own public health heroes, so the practitioners that they employ who hadn't only stepped up during the pandemic, but who had shown an ongoing dedication to public health that had helped make the UK a better place to live. We received lots of nominations. We received them from local authorities, from NHS trusts, and from other employers across the whole country. And we heard some really fantastic stories about the amazing work done by practitioners working at all levels. A couple of examples, a few examples of these. Mandy Adams, who is the health and wellbeing specialist at Eastleigh Borough Council. Mandy revolutionised partnership working between the council and its 3 local food banks during the pandemic. Pam Turton, who, as the first public health practitioner to be registered with UKPHR from a transport background, went on to develop transport policies and programmes through a public health lens for Portsmouth. Felicity Keeling, who, as her employer says, from the pandemic works tirelessly to support care homes in her area, responding to hundreds of individual queries, managing outbreaks and securing access to testing. And Carrie Hartwell, who, as well as her normal role as a community safety practitioner in an emergency department, she last year took on a secondment with Thames Valley Police, where she used her public health knowledge to help tackle serious violence across the area. I've pulled these examples out just to give you an idea of the breadth of nominees that we had. For a full list of them, there's plenty more. Please go and have a look at our online gallery, which you can find at the address that's at the bottom of the slide, just here. All of the nominees and the employers who nominated them received a digital badge to use in their email signatures and across the organisation. We encouraged them to nominees' success. We've encouraged employers, to celebrate their nominees' success by sharing their news as widely as possible. All of this helped to promote the campaign more widely and get more and more people involved. We knew that if we wanted to get more practitioners actually on the register, we had to do more than just encourage employers to celebrate their practitioners, though. We also needed the employers to support and facilitate registration, and we had to let them know about the benefits of registration for them and for their workforce. So for the next phase of the campaign, we produced a digital toolkit to highlight the benefits and to give them to give employers tips on how to support registration. The toolkit includes step-by-step guidance across all 6 areas where employers have the most influence in the registration process. The first of these is creating demand for practitioner registration within the organisation. So the first section explains how employers can promote registration to their existing employees and also how they can encourage registration by future employees and contractors as well. The second step is about facilitating portfolio development. As any of you who have been through the process will know all too well, this is the most time-consuming part of registration, but it's also the most important. It's through the portfolio that you're able to demonstrate your knowledge and your understanding and your application of all of the core standards in the process. So in section 2, we help employers to support applicants through that process, make sure that they have the time that they need to complete the portfolio. The third step is about providing access to structured CPD. We know that it can be difficult for employers to identify the right CPD pathway for every practitioner because the breadth of public health practice is so wide, there is no single pathway. But because employers do still have a responsibility to offer CPD to all of their workforce, this section gives them some ideas about how they can structure that better, including tools and resources from organisations like Health Education England and the Faculty of Public Health. They kindly both provided some material for this section, so there's lots of information in there. The other sections are about encouraging the sharing of best practice. We know that from feedback from registered practitioners that this is one of the most valuable parts of the registration process, is the opportunity to network with other public health professionals. So again, we provide some tips for employers about how they can facilitate that both within their organisation and beyond as well. We also promote participation by volunteer assessors and verifiers. Each of the regional public health practitioner registration schemes simply couldn't run without the help of all of the army of volunteer assessors and verifiers who work for them. And that role in itself is really valuable as well, not only from a personal development point of view and a career development point of view for the people who are taking it on, but also just for the employers, it can be a really valuable process to encourage some of their more senior practitioners or specialists to act as volunteer assessors and verifiers. So we give them some tips on how to facilitate that. And then finally, we give them some advice. We provide some advice about how employers can celebrate registration, because practitioner registration is a really significant milestone in a practitioner's career. And it's important for their employer to recognise that, and it reflects really well on the organisation, because it shows that as an employer, they take public health practice seriously and that they truly value their practitioner employees. So each one of these 6 points, these 6 sections, has got ideas, it's got examples, it's got case studies from other employers, and also each one's got a clear list of action points about what employers can do to implement all of these steps for their own workforce. So the feedback that we've received on the toolkit so far, I'm delighted to say, has been excellent. We've had some commissioners say that it's going to be really useful for them to pass on to the as guidance to their commissioned partners that provide services for them. We want to get this toolkit out to as many employers as possible. So we're asking practitioners to pass it on to their managers. We're asking directors of public health to pass it on to their own teams. And we're encouraging anybody working in public health recruitment to download it, to use it, to pass it on. Over the next few months, we're hoping then that we're going to see a real uptick in registrations in each of our local registration schemes across the country. It's been a real team effort designing and delivering this campaign, and each of the regional coordinators have been absolutely fantastic and brilliant getting the word out to employers in their own regions. So a big thank you to all of them for all their help, and also to all of you here today for listening to this very whirlwind tour of the campaign. If you've got any questions about the campaign, I'd be really happy to answer them now.
Lovely, thank you, Liz. That was, as you say, a whirlwind trip through such an important aspect of business. So I can see a couple of questions. I'm sure there'll still be some more coming in, but colleagues are just asking where can they access the toolkit, first of all. I know it's been circulated, but where can colleagues access the toolkit?
So if you go to UKPHR's website, there is a link on the homepage there, and to the page where we've launched the toolkit, and it's all online. So if you just go to ukphr.org, you'll be able to download it directly from there.
Okay, that's really helpful. And a question for you and others, I suppose, is did this run across the 4 nations of the UK? At
the moment, there's no scheme in Northern Ireland, so it didn't specifically run there. But we did launch it across all of the regions. All the Scottish boards helped us to promote it as well, and I know that the information about the toolkit was included in some various local newsletters in some of the Scottish boards. And yeah, absolutely, in Wales, we've got some. We received nominations from Public Health Wales, among other employers. So yes, it was very much a UK-wide campaign. Okay,
lovely. That's really helpful. I'm looking at some of the comments that they're talking about various regions, and I'm not sure that you can answer some of those about coordinators in various regions, but perhaps if we, Rachel, we'll pick some of those questions up, and through UKPHR we can help to respond. But Liz, please, do you know who the coordinator in the North East is, for example?
Now you're testing me now to know.
No, indeed. Don't worry. I'll stick with.
There is a list of all of the individual coordinators on the back of the toolkit, actually, and there's also lots of information on the public health practitioner registration scheme on the UKPHR website. Mm-hmm. So if anyone is interested in finding out more about their own regional scheme, again, please do go to the UKPHR website. You can also get in touch directly with the UKPHR team. The headquarters team are fantastic and very helpful. So if you email register@ukphr.org, they'll be able to answer all the questions that you've got about specific registration schemes.
That's really helpful.
Angela, thanks. Angela Ellens has just said that she is the coordinator in the North East. Angela, so I didn't know it off the top of my head.
Thank you, Angela. That's great. And perhaps, Liz, I know we've done a little bit of retrospect there in relation to what happened during the pandemic, but very much the pandemic goes on and very much registration goes on. So this is a forward look as well, isn't it? So colleagues seeing this today, we're intending, and certainly Wales is intending, to really start to focus on practitioners. We need to acknowledge we need to put resource into that, and the pandemic has been a big deflector, I'm sure, in all regions in relation to this, but that doesn't diminish the importance and our commitment to it. So perhaps through you and your presentation today, we can ask people to do that forward look as well and continue the good work that's going on. So
I think that, as I said earlier, the pandemic has really highlighted the how crucial public health practice really is, and it's given an opportunity to spotlight practitioners. And I mean, we absolutely do believe that by registering practitioners, that is the one absolute most important thing that employers can do to support their workforce, because it just it supports the individual, it supports the employer, and ultimately it supports the public.
Okay. Excellent. So there was one, just a final question, Liz, a sort of practical one really, which references registration. But did you need to be actually registered to be put forward as an example of good practice, for example, or were we inviting from all practitioners?
No, the nominations were invited of any practitioner. They didn't have to be registered with UKPHR. We were really keen that we wanted to show the breadth and the depth of practice in the UK, regardless of whether they were registered or not. The point of the nominations was to show that because these people are doing such fantastic work, whether or not they're registered, the support of their employers.
Lovely, that's really helpful and inclusive, which is our intention. Not underestimating the importance of why we're trying to set up registration in relation to those standards, and as you say, to celebrate the breadth of work of practitioners highlighted by some of those examples that you gave. So thank you very much. I can see that's generated a lot of interest in the sidebar, if not sort of local and regional questions, and I'm sure we'll try and promote now the toolkit right across the 4 nations, including supporting Northern Ireland in their interest in development. Excellent. Okay, Liz, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We've gone a little bit into your break period, but there's 8 minutes of break now until 10:30. That enables you to just do what you might need to do, and also then make your selection in relation to the first of the parallel sessions. So I'll see you all again in the plenary a little bit later on, and then please enjoy the next part of the conference. Lovely. See you all. If you can all rejoin the session that you want at 10:30. Thank you very much.